in terms of apocalyptic threats to our species, we might as well be seeing mushroom clouds over the horizon right now. It's already happening. I mean, every world leader today that's complicit in this global shift will have objectively more deaths on their hand than Adolf Hitler, and they will be viewed by the future as such. Every mass death event, every war, every genocide in pre-climate collapse history will be viewed as a marginal historical note, a rounding error in comparison to the 10-digit death toll that climate change is going to beget. We have some interesting speculative future weather forecasts. They've invented new colors to describe this. Now, keep in mind, it is difficult to get an accurate read on weather this far out, but all the info we have right now looks pretty bad. Northern Texas and Oklahoma are going to be hitting the 120s. So this is like genuinely apocalyptic weather, like beyond unprecedented, climate change accelerating faster than anyone, beyond unlivable, mass death. It is thankfully Oklahoma, and they do deserve this, but like it's still a little, oh yeah, forgot. It's a little bad. Yeah, it's a little bad. Yeah, that's 49 degrees Celsius. Which is a lot. And these are temperatures typically you see in Death Valley, the Gobi Desert, the Sahara. The difference is that unlike those places, these places have humidity. So yeah, no, it's really, really bad. Yeah, coast to coast Death Valley. So India weather? Well, if you had weather like this in a major metropolitan area in India, it would be a mass death event too. Like this would be bad for anyone. The Indians would not be tanking this. The poster saying this is a joke post. This right here, that might be cope on their part. What they're pointing out is that our weather models aren't really equipped for super accurate predictions this far into the future, but this is the kind of thing you want to warn people about. See, that's the problem. Our ability to predict weather has only gotten worse because we've underfunded the NOAA, but at the same time, you need advance warning. You do not want to hear about this 2 days before it happens. There have been multiple maps on the models. The data is really, really bad. Here we're kind of leaning into like a death green, like a blight green. It's the kind of green they give like Reaper characters in video games. You know what I'm talking about? Like Lucian or Thresh or whatever. Like that, the lantern glows in the dark kind of green. Yeah, it's necrotic damage green. Yeah. And it will be doing that. It will be doing that to the residents here. It does look radioactive, and I think, frankly, it's fitting. It's just kind of crazy how, like, the deep red here is representing the high 80s, and we are 40 degrees above that almost. So this is projected to happen in 2 weeks. 10 days. 10 days, thereabouts. Again, speculative, we don't know, but consider it a huge warning sign. Like, that's what I'm not telling you this is going to happen, because any weather forecasts out that far are going to be highly variable, but you should interpret this as an enormous warning sign. If you live in this area, I'm just going to press I'm staking my reputation on the warning button. I'm going to say, go out and buy water. Like, go buy a lot of water. If you can afford one, buy an ice box, get some ice in there. Just do something, whatever. I don't know. Just look up, what do I do when a heat wave is coming? What does this all mean in Celsius? Just shy of 50 degrees Celsius. Yeah, dig a cellar. I tanked 107 degrees last week. It actually ruined everything. Yeah. Oh yeah, it'll do that. Yeah. Deadly wet bulb temperatures are smothering the eastern U.S. Yeah. But this is in reference to the last heat wave. See, it's just over and over and over again. There's another big heat wave projected for Europe, another heat dome. We're going to get that big Oklahoma. This heat wave that we're looking at, where they're talking about deadly wet bulb temperatures, are legitimately 30 degrees lower than what's about to happen in Oklahoma. So, my forecast in Dallas is 95 next week. Again, not this one. This is for the 17th of July, 2026. It's a speculative future temperature reading. It might not come to pass, though it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad no matter what. Some people aren't aware of what wet bulb means. A wet bulb temperature, it's when it's hot and humid enough that sweat no longer evaporates from your skin, so your body loses its main way of lowering its own heat. So if you get wet, it just, like, the heat settles on you and you no longer lose weight by sweating, and then you just die. You just start cooking. Weather.us has a slightly better projection for the 17th. What do we mean by better? Well, like what does better mean in this context? I'm sorry, I don't actually know enough about how this site works to navigate this properly. What am I okay, so here's Oklahoma City. Forecast hour plus 276. This is saying it's going to be like 110 down in northern Texas by Dallas, but not northern Texas. I don't know enough about this to like make any confident assessments. So even based on this data we're looking at right here, we're seeing like in excess of 100 in northern Texas. But this one's a little bit less apocalyptic. Oh, well, there you go. Now they want me to subscribe. Yeah, we'll see. I don't think any kind of infrastructure could handle this heat. A lot of people like aren't even capable. People don't understand. Like a lot of basic infrastructure starts to fail when you get to these temperatures. Like your car dashboards are going to be melting inside of your vehicles if they're in the sun. Road infrastructure, asphalt will turn into a sticky soup. Road infrastructure, like casings sometimes for lights. Like it varies. I mean, depends on how they were built and in what way they're built and whatever. But like we're talking about potentially like an infrastructurally destructive temperature. That's happened in Arizona. Yeah, the train tracks in Germany were failing at a lower temperature because the asphalt that was lining either side of the metal rails was melting, which gave the rails space to buckle. What's the temperature like in Seattle? It's like 70 degrees right now. It's fucking beautiful. Would it not be crazy if the first mass death event in the climate collapse happens in the USA? First of all, India's already had mass death events. Second of all, I saw an estimate that the highest estimate that I have seen is tens of thousands of people have died in Europe, excess deaths due to heat. It's difficult because you can't really like cleanly analyze excess deaths except in retrospect. I'm seeing 5,600 listed on the Wikipedia article for the heat waves, but we're going to get more heat waves in the EU before this summer is over. Deaths rose by 29% in France during the last month. Jesus Christ. Just like a flat across the board 30% increase in the number of people dying every day. Analysis by the World Weather Attribution concluded it was the most severe heat wave ever recorded over the region studied, and that it was virtually impossible to explain its greater intensity without accounting for climate change. What if the climate just does that sometimes? Airport runways in the UK melted during one of their heat waves a few years ago. Yeah, like you can have airports just stop working because of the heat. That's real. That's a real thing that can happen. I can confirm as a train operator we have rules against operating above 100 degrees because our overhead wire will sag so much the pantograph can actually rip it off. That's terrifying. You mean like the heat expands the metal and the rubber and the wires? Yeah, it's like these basic things you never factor in, like heat expands stuff. What happens if the overhead wires expand to the point that they sag down and start catching on stuff? Like a lot of this infrastructure was just not built to accommodate the possibility that it would get like 110 degrees. And by the way, if the air is 110 degrees, that means that stuff on the ground can be much higher than that. A piece of metal left on the ground, that can hit like 200, 250 degrees. That's the reason why you touch the seatbelt buckle in your car and it can actually like instantly burn you. It's because like when you measure the temperature, you're not really measuring like the temperature of everything. You're measuring the temperature of the air. You know, the asphalt's like 150 degrees. The metal's like 250 degrees. That's because the speed of transfer of heat. Well, part of it is the speed with which the heat is transferred, but it's also just, if you think about it with your head, what we refer to as the summer heat is really just an increase in the average amount of thermal radiation being beamed down on us from the sun. And there's no reason why anything in the environment would be limited to the air temperature. Like the air might be this temperature on average, but a piece of metal, which has a much lower specific heat capacity, could potentially heat up way, way, way beyond that. It's exactly the same as like if you put your hand like 2 feet above an oven flame, your hand is going to be warm. Your hand is never going to be 200 degrees. Like if you hold your hand like here's the fire and then here's your hand, it might hurt a bit. Your hand's not going to be 200 degrees, you know? But if you held a metal pan up there to that heat for long enough, that would get so much hotter than the air present there, you know? Much faster too. That's why having trees is so important. It shades the road so surface temps don't rise so much. Yeah. During a heat wave, a road that has a bunch of trees can be like 30 degrees cooler than a road that doesn't. Don't walk the dog without checking the ground. That is true. Do not go walking your dog in the heat like that, okay? You're wearing shoes. they're not. We have another increased estimate for the standard deviation of the El Niño sea surface temperature. So you might recall the first time we saw this chart, the y-axis was capped at 3.5 degrees Celsius. Then it got moved up to 4 degrees Celsius. Now the y-axis goes up to 4.5 degrees Celsius, with the highest bound over here reaching 4.4 degrees Celsius over the average. And the median, or mean, I guess it's both the median and the mean. It looks pretty well centered. It looks like a normal distribution, hitting around 3.8, 3.9 degrees Celsius above standard. So that's cool. Will this cause mass death to ocean life? Oh, yeah. The vast majority of ocean life is in like the surface of the water, right? Like the phytoplankton get eaten by the da-da-da. I'm not a marine biologist, okay? The surface of the ocean being a boiling cauldron is bad for life on Earth. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. Yeah, for sure. So anglerfish should be fine. I mean, in the long run, no, because the nutrients they get are still downstream of the stuff that gets fed up on the surface. But, you know, yeah, you get me. So the plankton that make up half all the oxygen production on the in the world are just going to die? I mean, like, eventually, yeah, some of them. Doesn't it also acidify the ocean? Yes. But this is actually, believe it or not the worst chart that I have access to right now. This is a sea surface temperature chart year by year, standard deviations from the mean as estimated from 1991 to 2020. So the mean here is calculated still in a post-industrial context, not the mean from 100 years ago, but the mean from 1991 to 2020. Now, if you take a careful look at the red line over here, which represents sea surface temperature standard deviations from the mean for the year of our Lord 2026, you might notice that it's looking real bad. It's already here, folks. I mean, in terms of apocalyptic threats to our species, we might as well be seeing mushroom clouds over the horizon right now. It's already happening. In a sane world right now, like every government would be declaring martial law and would be requisitioning factories for the mass production of every possible good and service that could be used to alleviate the yeah, it would be like a global war against whatever the outcomes of this are going to be in a sane world. We don't live in a sane world, as I said in great exhausting detail in the previous stream. The irrationality of capitalism is greater in its power than the sum of all human rationality. Can you delay it till I get my degree? No, this is happening like way faster than anyone expected, basically. Well, not anyone. There were some very pessimistic climate scientists back 20 years ago who estimated this, but by and large, the pace with which everything is getting worse is increasing much faster than anyone expected. Well, than the average expectation. Anyway, yeah, God, who knows how far up this is going to go, right? Maybe we hit 4 degrees standard deviation. We've already never hit 3 before. It's never been even close to this bad before. We're a full standard deviation above the highest previous range for this time period. But, you know, Mark Carney doesn't care about climate change anymore. Mark Carney is and always was a neoliberal banker. His only selling point in the context of like the global resurgence of fascism is that he's A, marginally competent, and B, doesn't like Trump because Trump disrupts the corporatist world order. But remember, climate change is not a product of like modern 2026 style oligarchs. It's not Elon Musk or whatever, you know? It's the corporatists. So as much as people might frame things between like the crazy Trump MAGA types versus the more sensible, sane, neoconservative pre-Trump Republican Party types, remember, it's the latter group that did this. It's a joke article. Yeah, I'm aware of that. I'm aware that Mark Carney did not literally say this out loud. I assume they were merely referring to a sentiment. Like I figured that there will be many Jan 6s in the future for people like this. Our kids will view leaders like Mark Carney or terrorists. I mean, every world leader today that's complicit in this global shift will have objectively more deaths on their hand than Adolf Hitler. And they will be viewed by the future as such. Every mass death event, every war, every genocide in pre-climate collapse history will be viewed as a marginal historical note, a rounding error in comparison to the, you know, the 10-digit death toll that climate change is going to beget, possibly 11-digit given enough time. It's like everything else is going to be a rounding error. No one's even going to bother care. They're going to be like, well, who cares? Yeah, the black book of capitalism. Obama did it, Biden did it. Yeah, I mean every leader is complicit in this. This is not just a Trump thing or whatever. The sensible adult in the room approach from the Democrats has not been nearly. This is and always has been a war effort. How often do you even hear Democrats talk about the climate? You know, the problem is that on a fundamental level, and I apologize for sounding like a Twitter leftist here, but it is unfortunately factually correct. The problem here is that the only solution would be to either severely regulate or dismantle capitalism, and in either case, and let's not even speculate on how difficult that would be structurally. I'm not one of those people who thinks you can just flip a switch and do a revolution. Okay, I don't think that at all. Historically, revolutions have led to a decrease, not increase, in the standard quality of living. However, even if we were to assume such a thing was possible and remotely politically feasible, you would have to war against the capital class. There would be a massive global war for supremacy over the earth between people who want to acknowledge the existence and severity of climate change and people who will use every tool at their disposal, which is every tool on earth because they're capital, to silence the previous group. It would not be good, you know? Every single climate change talking point would be obfuscated in an infinite hail of cultured talking points, race war, gender ideology. They would distract people with anything and everything. To a large extent, that's what's happened, you know? Transgender people have been around for ages, but everyone started talking about those damn bathroom bans just like a decade ago. Why? Well, you have to get people to talk about something. Everything. It's like that with everything, you know? Who knows if there was ever a different path. Epstein and Peter Thiel is why. It is true that all of this is happening just as Epstein planned. I assume he would have preferred to have been alive at this point and not have been, like, killed by Trump or whatever, but, you know, you get me. How often do Dems still talk about the thing nobody pays attention to? Well, it's kind of a circular problem because nobody pays attention to it because, like, we don't have a massive political body nonstop advocating for it. Again, to be clear, climate change right now poses a greater threat to the United States of America than any foreign military ever has. The Nazi Germany did not pose as much of a threat to Western Europe as climate change does. To put this, like, unambiguously, if there were two timelines, one where the Nazis won after World War II and one where the climate plays out exactly the way it is right now, keep in mind that the Nazis probably would have accelerated climate collapse. They were not exactly environmentalists, but I'm trying to frame this in terms of, like, greater immediate threat. Climate's going to kill more people. By a lot. Like, we're talking about a greater threat to every living thing on Earth than anything that has ever happened before. Nuclear apocalypse probably would lead to a lower death toll. It's unimaginably important. But we were able to successfully redirect national discourse on foreign policy and security after 9/11, despite 9/11 killing, statistically speaking, in the context of the climate collapse, 0 people. Like, 9/11 is literally a rounding error in comparison to what's about to happen. The heat wave in Europe 2 weeks ago killed more than twice as many people as 9/11. I mean, I'm sorry for being like the billionth person to tell you we're not taking it seriously enough, but we might be past the we might be past the point. We might be past it a little bit at this point. You did have Al Gore. Al Gore winning in 2000. Sorry, not just winning, but having been inaugurated, would have made a significant difference, I think, but Al Gore would not have been able to turn back the clock on global capitalism. Unfortunately, we're talking about a systematic issue, not just like who's president, you know? Wasn't Hitler big on animal protection? Not even a little bit. He was personally a vegetarian, but the Nazi Germany was utterly uninterested in any kind of ecological conservation, which is not surprising because they also didn't care about humans. As a general rule, an ideology that doesn't care about humans probably also doesn't care about animals. Just a general, you know, it's a good, like, heuristic. What do you think Europe should do? Dog, it's over. AC has nothing to do with this. The temperatures that we're about to be subjected to have nothing to do with air conditioning. Do you think air conditioning is going to save you here? When the asphalt outside is melting and power lines are collapsing and there's wildfires encroaching? AC has nothing to do. AC is like a mild distraction, a temporary quality of life increase in the face of the apocalypse here, you know? It's like having a radiation suit if all the nukes went off. Like, it might keep you going for a little while longer, but, you know, you've got collapse of the food cycle, the food chain, you know, you run out of food, you run out of water. You still have to drink the water, buddy. Your radiation suit's not going to, you know, de-irradiate the water you have to drink. It feels comfortable for a while, but eventually History's gonna catch up to you. Oh yeah, like the energy grid's even gonna fucking survive these temperatures. They were already having energy grid collapses over in the eastern United States during the recent heat wave. Hey, the energy grid's not gonna survive this. How familiar are you guys? And I'm gonna be honest with you, I wasn't very familiar at all with the small Pacific island of Rota. Anyone heard of that? It's in Guam, I believe, or near Guam. I'm ignorant. You know, let's learn a little bit, huh? Here it is in Google Maps. Oh, look at that. Pacific, nearby by Japan. I believe it's a U.S. territory, if I'm not mistaken. There's Guam. There's Rota. Let's take a look at how Rota is doing. Yes. Sorry about the unpleasant audio, but that is probably also what it sounds like to be there, except like way worse. Rota has gotten hit by, if I'm not mistaken, please correct me if I'm wrong, the worst hurricane ever, I think, or like very close to it. Very close to it, if not. Wind gusts hitting in the 200s in terms of miles per hour, 355 kilometers per hour at the higher gusts. It is a category 6-7. Super Typhoon Bavi made landfall yesterday, and I'm just going to assume I don't even know if there are people on the island of Rota. I'm just going to assume they're dead now. I don't know. I'm not an expert on the subject. I assume they're dead. If hurricanes could go above a category 5, this wouldn't be a category 5. In fact, hold on. A category 5 is in excess of 157 miles per hour. If we took the standard hurricane categorization chart and we continue to scale it up past 5, this actually would be, well, depending on whether you measure by the gusts or by the average wind temperature. If it measures by the gusts and not the average, it would be maybe like a category 8 or 9. If it measures by the average, then it would be like a high category 6 or a low category 7. So the joke earlier actually applies. See, look, category 4 is 130 to 156, and category 5 is in excess of 157. So if we're looking for like every category shift is 20 or 30 miles per hour, then this would be like cleanly a high category 6. Fastest hurricane ever was 215, so this could be a new record holder. Yeah, I guess it just depends on how high the gusts got and, you know, what the exact, measurement categorization is. There is a military base and 30,000 people there. Well, I hope they're doing good. Whoo, boy. Basically no media coverage of this, by the way. Super Typhoon Bavi. Super Typhoon Bavi. That looks bad. Look at that. You see how big this hurricane is, by the way? You see, I mean, look at that, like in the context of the map. Like if you scale it out, like this is the Northern Mariana Islands, and then you see how far out the hurricane goes. We're talking about like here, like where I'm circling right now with my mouse. It's like the whole Mariana Trench above it, you know? Got hit with hollow purple. Dial it back. Dial it back. Is it going to hit Southeast Asia? I'm pretty sure it's going to dissipate considerably before it slams into Southeast Asia, if it does. This is a good visualization. Damn, that's crazy. That is a good visualization. So this is wind movements across the Earth. I think I see where the problem is. I'm not an expert. I'm not a meteorologist, but I think I see the problem. Zoom in. Hold on. We got like a Google Maps overlay here. Quite likely to make landfall in Taiwan. The Chinese weather machine has finally been completed, it seems. Not great. Well, forecasts have us in for a rough hurricane season, unsurprisingly. Check precipitation on the left. Yeah, sure, why not? I'll click on precipitation. Okay, yep, that does indeed look like a precipitory event down there. Oh, yeah, they got the little lightning effect. Yeah, no, for sure. The weather does this, though, right? I mean, it's been known to happen, yeah. Next year will be worse. Yes, next year is going to be worse because of the Super El Niño. Right now, the Super El Niño, we basically have like the world's, where's that chart? Too many tabs open. We have like the world's scariest Kamehameha charging up right now in the, across the Pacific. But like the shot hasn't even been fired yet. When we look at this chart, we haven't even seen the effects take place yet. You know, we're just seeing it charge up. It's going to be hitting us all throughout the next year. Hasn't it already begun? No. What we're experiencing right now is a massive heat wave, many massive heat waves. But what this is referring to is the gigantic buildup of hot sea surface the temperatures and a band across the equator moving west along the Pacific. Let me see if I can find that. Hold on. We need like the scary colors. Here we go. This is what a plus 3.9 degrees Celsius El Nino could look like at its peak in December. It would be the strongest El Nino on record by a wide margin. So it's a temperature battery that we're charging up for the next hurricane season. So the next hurricane season would be like the category 6-7 hits New York City and flattens Manhattan kind of. Wouldn't the extreme winters bring the average temp down? Well, it's complicated. Next winter, this coming winter, is probably going to be relatively warm and wet, at least in most places, I think, because of this. So it's the winter is not going to be that bad in terms of like the cold. It's just the hurricane season's going to be off the fucking charts. Which means, by the way, that there's going to be even less snowfall in like the Rockies, which means the Colorado's going to run dry. It's a whole thing. Dinosaurs are going to come back. Florida down. It's a bad time to be Florida. That's true. Though keep in mind, this is in the Pacific, not the Atlantic. Florida's on the Atlantic. This is in the Pacific. So it's more like Southeast Asia down. Listen, it's going to affect all of us. But yeah, the lowered snow melt's going to cause some serious problems with like, rather than having reliable river feeding with snow over spring and summer, we're going to have like massive rainstorm deluges that are going to flood the rivers and the floodplains with icky, gross floodwater that's not going to be usable for farming. So like the Colorado is going to alternate between being flooded and running dry. It's going to be, I think we might, I know you've heard me say, I think it might be like over a little bit. I think like it's not just this year. Right now, what we're getting is like easy shit. Oh yeah, sorry. What we're getting right now is easy shit compared to what's coming. Brewing Super El Nino may self-destruct after reaching record peak, triggering rapid La Nina return in 2027. These extreme events are not built for endurance. In fact, the stronger the El Nino event becomes, the more rapidly they tend to self-destruct, which increases the cyclical... Yeah. Not good. Island of Rota. National Weather Service issued a rare extreme wind warning. Looks like it's going to hit up here, maybe north of Taiwan. The trend seems to be that hurricanes turn north and slam into Japan. Well, that's not good. Got to get my denim now, I suppose. Yeah, sorry about all the doom and gloom, guys. I just feel like it's sort of my responsibility to talk about it a little bit, you know?
In the western Pacific, Super Typhoon Bavi made landfall over the island of Rota 5 hours ago, bringing extremely dangerous Category 5 hurricane force winds and torrential rainfall to Guam and the northern Mariana Islands. This is video from overnight and this morning in Guam. Officials around the territory are reporting flash floods, flipped cars, and extensive damage over the past couple of hours.
Yeah, makes sense.
All of this comes while the territories were still recovering from the previous super typhoon Sinlaku in April.
The typhoons this year is bringing us almost to a crippled state in the region. And so it's the response efforts from NGOs, people across the United States bringing donations.
Hurricane Maria was almost 10 years ago. You still see destroyed hurricanes, clap bridges, destroyed hurricanes. I assume you destroyed buildings. Dog, we never even fully recovered after Katrina. I'm gonna put my foot down and make a strong prediction, though, if I may. The next mega hurricane that hits Florida, Georgia, South and North Carolina will not be repaired. The damage from the next mega hurricane to make landfall in the southeastern United States, it will not be repaired within our lifetimes. They might be able to rebuild major roadways, essential bridges. You know, they're not gonna let the entire state rot, but that the scar from that damage is going to last for the rest of our lives. No one will be able to repair it. It simply won't be possible. Why not? Because it's not possible. Every state government is in debt. You know that, right? People are already fleeing Florida. That depresses the future tax base. There's literally not enough money. The federal government couldn't do it if they wanted to. Even with all the money the U.S. has, it's nothing. Rent-seeking has eaten our ability to produce anything. Oh, you want to repair a road? That'll be $8 million per mile. No fucking way. We can't afford that. Even if we tax the wealthy people, we couldn't afford that. The rent-seeking has gotten in too deep.
Helping us, supporting us.
Still, they could if they really wanted to? No. I'm sorry.
Federal partners from FEMA and other agencies really coming into the region to help pick up the pieces because it's a long time recovery.
100 families are still living in tents because of the first super typhoon that hit the northern Marianas. The El Nino season is expected to continue with a lot more tropical cyclone activity expected in the Pacific.
1 in 7 listed homes in the United States for sale are in Florida. Yeah, I saw that just the other day. Pretty crazy. 1 of 7 of all homes for sale in the United States are in Florida. People are leaving. They haven't even repaired since Helene. And keep in mind, it's not just one hurricane. The hurricanes are just going to keep getting worse over and over and over again every year for the rest of our lives. Like it's not just like, well, can they repair the damage from the one hurricane? There will be another one that season and then 5 more the next. Is there not a way to federally ban utilizing private contractors or something along those lines, or am I just stupid? You would need like real war powers. The only way out at this point, and by out I mean the only way to mitigate the consequences of this damage, not even out, we're not getting out, we're already in, we're not getting out, would be martial law. You would need to fully requisition the productive capabilities of the industrial of American production to whatever extent it still exists. You would need to do like proper dictator shit. And even then, I don't think that's going to happen because the only people even remotely interested in doing an American dictatorship are in love with capital. Like all the people who are like, yeah, I'd be willing to suspend habeas corpus. Those people just want to give more money to the capital class. Nothing's going to fix this.
Passed over Rota, an island of 2,000 people in the northern Mariana Islands. The storm had maximum sustained winds exceeding 180 miles.
Are you talking about softening the blow or stopping it? Softening the blow. Nothing can stop this now. It's too late. We are very too late. The climate collapse is going to happen no matter what. All the human effort in the world couldn't stop it. We could mitigate it significantly, but we would like the amount of government intervention and political will that it would take to meaningfully dampen the blow of climate collapse would be like in excess of what Mao did in China or Stalin did in Russia. We're talking about like you would need a completely unimpeded government led by people who are willing to trade human lives for progress, making orders that like that just relocate or fuck up the lives of tens of millions of people. The degree of ruthlessness it would take to like crack the inefficiency of the global economy and get stuff done in spite of it would be unprecedented. I don't think it's ever happened in human history, certainly not to a developed global economy. So I don't really think it's going to happen. It's why I say like the Democrats can't save us at this point. Can you elaborate what steps would be taken? I'm not like magic. I don't know. It'd be complicated. You would need to requisition factories. You would need government mandates for labor. You would need to force people into work. You would need like mass conscriptions. You would need to start ration. Oh, you would need the fucking ration. You would basically need to take over like every single supply chain because you would have to create a command economy. And not only in America, you would have to use the military to force other countries to get along. We in America import a lot of stuff. We don't have a totally insular economy. We would need to force the rest of the world to get along with us in this respect. And that would require like a level of mobilization that's basically impossible to do these days. People would revolt. They wouldn't accept it. People would say, I'm against climate change, but this is too much, as like the government commissar showed up at their house to take their first, second, and third born sons off to war with England to force England to comply with our like climate emission standards. People would revolt and it wouldn't happen. It would just collapse the country faster. It's not going to happen. It's over. It's just you have to make plans for yourself and your family and your friends. The level of effort that it would take to 65,000 people died building the Panama Canal. Every new bridge is going to be like that. That's a good way of thinking about it. Every single great works project, every effort taken would have a death toll attached to it that would put to shame like antiquity. You know, we would be building bridges with workers in the mortar. Every forced relocation, you know, like at a minimum, we're talking about forced relocation of tens of millions of people out of the American Southwest, right? They're just going to run out of water down there. We don't have the aqueducts or the water infrastructure necessary to get them the water. And there's no way we're going to be able to build that much water desalination. We don't have the grid for it. If we were going to get the grid for it or going to get the aqueducts for it, we would need like mass labor. It'd be like slave labor, essentially. You would need the government to be like, this is getting done whether you want it to or not. We really don't care about the human cost anymore. And the crazy thing is, if done properly, this would save orders of magnitude more lives than it would cost. Like, if 100,000 people died building durable water infrastructure for the American Southwest, it would save millions of lives. But these are just, again, costs no one can sanely bear or mobilize at this point. We're talking about like, it's just not doable. It's just not doable. Which is probably why China's more structurally capable of adequately responding to these crises. Well, they're less cuck the capital. But we're all going to have problems. We're all going to have problems, you know? How expensive is my RAM going to be? Let's worry about real shit. The energy grid's not even going to be able to it's not going to be stable enough for you to play shit on your computer anyway. What about the best possible outcome for democratic systems? How bad is the least bad realistic path? That's a rough one. I don't want to do it to you like that. I don't want to do it to you like that. It's pretty bad. Look, I'm just a guy. I'm just a fucking YouTuber. I'm not going to pretend that my predictions carry like innately any more weight than anyone else's. But you know, how real do you think this is? It doesn't matter. New solar tech makes desalinating seawater cheaper than producing bottled water. Listen, that's great. I love human scientific innovation, but we've had solar panels for a long time and we're still not building them. It's not, listen, this is what I mean about the fundamental irrationality of capital. They don't care. We've had the solution to climate change for decades. We're not doing it because they hate you and want you to die. It doesn't matter. Tech won't get us out of this because you still have to implement the tech, and they're not doing it. Like, this is a social problem that cannot be mitigated with technology. Speaking of China, a dam just collapsed there. Well, that's not good. Solar panels only became cheaper than fossil fuels a year or so ago. They would have been cheaper than fossil fuels 15 years ago if we'd invested in it properly. Everyone who knows anything has known that solar is the future for a long time. The only reason we didn't invest in it is because fossil fuel executives have long since captured American government. Democrats too. Like the idea that, like, listen, look at the world right now. China is the only country that seems to be treating this even remotely seriously, using government subsidies to mass produce solar panels. Here in the West, we do not give a shit. We do not care. It has nothing to do with the recency of the technology and everything to do with the fact that fossil fuel has completely captured our political system. Let's move there then. Well, it's global climate change, so China fixing things, at least along one axis, is not enough to undo the global, you know, it's one planet.